My next guest is a former Federal Treasury economist, a former economist to the super fund industry, who's described the suburban rail loop as the worst infrastructure project of all time. I'm pleased to say Stephen Anthony joins me now. We were told at the last election, just prior to 2018, that it would cost in and around $50 billion. I think you used the term up to $50 billion. We know the Victorian Parliamentary Budget Office says it could be as high as $125 billion. You've got your head around these numbers. Give us a sense of what you think the costs will be.
Well, all up, it'll be closer to $200 billion in today's dollars. Mm-hmm. It's at least $1 billion a kilometre, plus all sorts of environmental remediation all over the place. Remember, we're mainly tunnelling through sand, which is the most difficult subterranean construction project you could possibly imagine. And when it's over, you ask yourself, why did we prioritise this big hole?
So is it good value for money for taxpayers?
If your objective is a middle ring transport loop to the airport, connecting the relevant suburbs, you could achieve the same outcome with electric buses, for example, for 1/100th of the price, you know. Or you could do rail above ground and pick up the existing corridors that are dedicated for this project, have been there for 80 years, and do the same thing for maybe 1/50th or maybe 1/75th of the project.
If you look at where Victoria's debt position is against the other states, the capacity of debt to even be debated in this campaign, I don't think we've seen from either side a really comprehensive debt reduction strategy.
Yep.
And then you add to this, you're saying $200 billion, yep. And we know it's all borrowed money anyway. Yep. There's the involvement here of the federal government. There's a tiny proportion of funds been put on the table, $5 billion from the Prime Minister. What does Infrastructure Australia say about this project?
Well, they haven't been able to say anything at all because they haven't been presented with a proper business case.
So we're going to spend $200 billion and no business case?
Exactly. So this hasn't got approval from Infrastructure Australia.
Right.
This hasn't got approval from Infrastructure Victoria. This hasn't got approval from the Parliamentary Budget Office of Victoria.
So how can they spend the money?
Well, the Albanese government has allocated matching funds, $2.5 billion in the most recent budget update, and that is the beginning of the whole process.
The Premier just said on that tape, you would have heard him today at the press conference, it's all fully funded.
No, the first works are fully funded. The rest of it are not in the...
So how much is fully funded then, out of the $200 billion?
Well, let's say we've got $195 billion to go. Right. Now, this is monopoly money. Yeah. This is a mentality that's sort of modern monetary theory, right? Just keep spending it and we'll keep people employed.
Is this why Victorians feel poorer? Is this why that study out today says on all these indicators, Victorians are worse off than counterparts in other states?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you achieve a policy objective, spending, say, 20 times more than you need to, what you're doing there is undermining your productivity objective. You know, you run a population Ponzi scheme where you increase inflows fourfold from 2008 on an annual basis.
You're talking there about the fact that Victoria's population has gone up and up and up,
That's
but
right.
in per capita terms,
Yeah.
Victorians don't feel like they're getting ahead.
That's right, and it's because you bring in too many people too fast, and you don't take notice of the quality of the people that you bring in terms of their skill mix.
So what do you say to the claim that Victoria will be Melbourne will be the largest city in Australia in a couple of years' time? Can Melbourne cope, and why are we increasing the population if we've got the issues you've outlined?
Well, Melbourne will be the lowest per capita in terms of living standards in a few years, the way we're going.
Right.
And so...
Do you think people understand that?
No, I don't think they understand it. And, you know, look, I'm just a stupid economist. I wouldn't know anything, but my job is to speak honestly about these things and to bring them to people's attention, including the fact that we'll probably have a junk credit rating, within a decade, and say, look, what are we going to do about this?
Are you disappointed that we're in the middle of a state election campaign? I mean, I say all campaigns matter. This one, I think, matters for a good generation because of the budget position, because we've come out worse than other states out of the pandemic. Why are we not having this sort of debate in an election campaign?
Well, what I really hope for is that a federal politician of any political stripe refers the SRL project to the Federal Parliamentary Budget Office.
Which anyone in the chamber can do?
Exactly. All they have to do is say, could you cost a project like this, stage one, please? And could you give me a benefit to cost ratio when you're finished?
And that's where we might get some answers.
Well, I think that's the end of the SRL project.
Stephen, Anthony, thank you for your time.